Genie's all better now.
What's wrong with your face?
Pixar movies are considered to be some of the highest quality blockbuster animated movies to ever exist. But what is the ultimate Pixar movie? Introducing the ultimate Pixar tier list. On our quest to make the ultimate Pixar tier list, we come to the very first Pixar film, Toy Story. And just like its name, the film in a lot of ways is very simple. It uses very safe and standard methods of telling its story. It uses the character arcs typical in a buddy comedy film by using an intersecting arc in which both characters change together in different ways. Through and through, it's a simple story. But it's how efficient and how cleverly the film tells that story that makes this movie so special. A lot of things about this movie really impressed me, especially considering the fact of how old it is, at least in terms of animation. Obviously, this is the first fully computer-generated animated film, and in a lot of ways it holds up, even if in some ways it doesn't, at least animation-wise. Sure, some of the faces are a little bit off-putting, but they're always on the human faces. The toy faces look incredible still to this day, and it was very clever to have the foresight to make this film about toys, because the animation is sort of plasticky feeling and plastically looking. It is amazingly impressive, I should say, how much foresight they had to be like, let's make this movie about toys, because they were aware of the technological limitations that existed in that time. Sort of makes me wonder if this movie, Toy Story 1, let's say none of the other movies existed, Toy Story 1 was made in 2021, would it be as effective as it was in the 90s, or would it be as solid as a film? And in a lot of ways, I think what makes this movie so good is that it does more with less, right? The technology definitely was the obstacle to making this movie. They definitely pushed its limits. And I have a feeling nowadays, with more money and more technological advancements, in a weird way, this movie would not do less with more like it does back then. The runtime is a perfect example of that. This movie is relatively short, clocking in at just about an hour and 15 minutes. Compare that to if this movie was possibly made today. I feel like it would have a runtime of an hour and 30, an hour and 40, and they would have maybe changed the direction of this film. I mean, obviously, in a hypothetical sense, it probably wouldn't exist at all, but you understand my point. Is what makes this movie so impressive is they do more with less, and what they do with the animation is pretty spectacular. I love how they use some of the gloss on the toys' faces or reflections. I noticed a lot through like Buzz's helmet, you can see reflections that would be realistic to what the environment would be like, or even on like surfaces that are reflective, like maybe there's like this like sort of like, I want to say like, not almost like a vase type thing that I see that you can see a reflection out of, or there's so many surfaces that have like reflective reflections bouncing off them, and it was so impressive that they pay that close attention to detail. Also, something I noticed watching this movie again is the spot on Woody's forehead marked by Sid. That stays for almost the entirety of the movie after he gets it, which is something I never noticed before and is really impressive. But besides how well this movie holds up technically from an animation standpoint, it holds up amazingly in almost every other aspect. The voice acting is incredible. Tom Hanks kills it as Woody. Don Rickles is another standout. I mean, like, the cast is phenomenal. It also hits you really, really quick with a bunch of amazing writing, whether it be character writing or whether it be visual comedy and gags. It just almost never ends. It's just constantly something after another, and in an hour and 15 minutes there's almost no time to breathe, but that is nothing but a compliment. This movie holds up extremely well and does everything it is trying to do. It's really impressive. And man, the emotional punches, man, like, I know I watched this on stream and I might not have cried, but if I was watching it off stream, there might have been a few tears rolling down my eyes, not only because of nostalgic attachment reasons to this film, but it really hits you in incredible spots. One of the best scenes in the entire film that hit me this time more than it ever did was in Sid's room, in which the arcs, of course, are intersecting with each other. As Woody is now learning to accept Buzz, Buzz is learning to accept he's a toy, and they of course cross at the perfect moment, in which they have a conversation of which Buzz says, "I am worth nothing. I am nothing but a blip, an insignificant blip," and that he's just a toy. And Woody's like, "Dude, like, being a toy is way better than being a fucking space ranger, dude. This is a fucking kid who loves you just for being you," and like contextualizing that nature. And of course, yeah, Pixar movies do this a lot, and the first one is sort of obviously the first example of this, of what if blank were like humans? What if toys kind of were like humans? And in a weird way, that is sort of what this is asking, but also sort of, like examining. And it's really fascinating, like what toys find significant, like being placed on a shelf, or when there's a birthday, or, like how you're marked, like getting in at the right spot at the right time. All these things that seem so insignificant to us, like we just toss a toy somewhere and go do something else, to a toy is so significant. And that contrast of magnitudes is what makes this movie have its humor, but also have its charm. It really is such an impressive aspect that you kind of never really thought about it. So imaginative. Like, what would our toys be like if we left them alone? And this movie has existed for so long. It is such a important heart in our, I would say, culture or media culture, especially with animation, that we almost, I think, take this movie for granted on how good it is, because a lot of this movie does so many things that today would be standard, or it sort of has become standardized in a way, or has created a formula, but it also is just so impressive. It still impresses me to this day, and it's really a cultural landmark in that sense. But overall, the story is very simple. It's not like they do anything crazy experimental with it. They kind of keep it right where it needs to be. They don't really do too much or too little. But what they do with it, what they do with the simple story and how it's told, again, very simple character arcs, very simple motivations. They play with the magnitude, of course, having Woody and the toys value certain things as toys, and Buzz not realizing he's a toy, and that sort of clashing with each other is what makes the movie work. Again, simple on paper, but it's how they execute it is what makes it so perfect. It is sort of cheesy in a way, but this movie is really just about friendship, and really about learning to accept each other and learning who you can be with each other and grow with each other. It is, again, very simple thematically, but it is very impressive on how much they can do with that. And even so, there are some sort of existential moments here. I mean, there is a moment where, like, Buzz finds out who he is, and it's just this moment of, like, existential crisis in which he tests that by trying to jump out of the window, and one of the most dramatic scenes by losing his arm. And in that, there's a lot that is funny. It's a very humorous moment, it's a very humorous scene, but it's also filled with a lot of heart and emotion. And you sort of understand, like, wow, like, it's kind of wild to see a toy go through an existential crisis, and you sort of feel for Buzz in a way. It's very impressive how they can sort of do both at the same time. And this movie is just that, is exploring all those aspects. Now, that's not to say this movie has no flaws whatsoever, but most of its flaws, like I said, are technical, some weird face stuff, some animation backgrounds that definitely haven't aged super well, but I feel like some of those are fair game and some of those aren't fair games to critique. It's sort of hard to decide, but I think everything else carries the movie so much, it's really hard to point those as problems. There are some very minor problems people could point out, like how come Buzz knows to act like a toy, or how come some people can't hear the toys when they're clearly in air vision of the people that are yelling in a house. How can no one hear that? And I feel like those are just minor. I don't really analyze films like that, and to analyze every Pixar film like that unless it's really obviously like something they didn't think about in a huge plot hole. I don't think it's really worth exploring. But it's something to kind of know in the back of the head. It is something that I did kind of pick up on a little bit, but it deducts nothing from this ranking that I give it. I think this really is one of the best Pixar movies, man. It is really that good. And of course we have to rank it. And how the ranking system is going to work is we have S through F. F being bad, D being not great, C being average, okay, it was fine, B being pretty good, pretty solid movie. A being really good, really solid movie. And S being damn, this movie is fucking incredible. And where do I rank Toy Story? Well, through the clever methods of animation, Toy Story is truly an ageless film in almost every way it can be. It uses themes of friendship that tell a story to highlight what it would be like to be a toy, from their values and priorities, and in many different environments, from the bedroom to a claw game. It is as solid of an animated film as it can be, with clever writing, great visual comedy and gags, and a tightly told emotional story with existential and even philosophical themes. Toy Story not only holds up, but remains one of the best films Pixar has ever made, despite being the first film they ever animated. And that is nothing but impressive. Toy Story, our first film in the ultimate Pixar tier list, climbs right to the top with an S rank. It sits very comfortably at the top, at least for now. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen, our first entry in the ultimate Pixar tier list. And our next movie is none other than Bug's Life, a film that I've only seen once or twice, and I was pretty small. I don't really remember much about this film, so it's not really a first time watch as much as revisiting, way more than Toy Story, which I've seen a bunch of times. Considering Bug's Life is a film that I'm kind of approaching from an interesting lens, I would say definitely watch this with me. I can speak. Watch this with me. If you're watching this right now, if you're watching this, hello, hi, and this is the day of upload, I'm actually watching Bug's Life on Twitch the day this video was uploaded. Be sure to check out down below to see when I'm live. Join my Discord. I post there when I'll be going live to react to the movie. Follow me on Twitch to watch the movies with me, as long as you own Disney Plus or a copy of the movie. You can watch it alongside me. And the Bug's Life video will be out, hopefully, pretty soon. But there we go, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to construct the ultimate Pixar tier list. No one is stopping me. And we start off with Toy Story at an S rank. Thank you guys so much for watching. And until next time, which Pixar movies do you like? What do you think about Toy Story? Did I rank it too high? What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Follow me on Twitch. And until the next time, follow me on Twitch. How do I stop? Until then, this is a loop. Just a constant loop. How do I end this? Pixar, Toy Story, good. Me likey.